Okay, Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. The JB administration moves towards allowing American military contractors to deploy to Ukraine. Of course, today we're going to talk about a ton of things, including the very strange outfit of Canadian Air Force helicopters that was just over Ohio. I did want to make sure that folks that just followed us from that last show do know that we actually have proof that that was not, somebody said in chat, a Spider-Man movie. We just got a comment from the Canada's Department of Defense. So again, for those of you that were saying that, with lots of really, really strange events, including we are now saying that we may be sending military contractors into Ukraine. The JB administration is moving towards lifting a de facto ban on American military contractors deploying to Ukraine. For U.S. officials familiar with the matter told CNN to help the country's military maintain and repair U.S.-provided weapon systems. So this is like a slow roll, one step at a time. Now they're going to be able to have proof that a U.S. personnel is going to be directly at these weapon systems. So if there was any doubt that they were helping push the button or help with the actual targeting, it's going to be hard to say that there is not. The change would mark another significant shift in the JB administration's Ukraine policy as the U.S. looks for ways to give Ukraine's military an upper hand against Russia. The policy was still being worked on by administration officials and has not been received by final sign-off yet from President JB. We have not made any decisions or any discussion of this. It's premature. So I think that probably a lot of this, things like this get leaked out before and they end up being true. It says the president is absolutely firm that he will not be sending U.S. troops to Ukraine. But again, military contractors or military specialists, that might be a different story. We'll talk about that and what it might lead to. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, and also remember you can find a full bibliography over on marfooglenews.com. All you have to do is click on today's thumbnail, and it will bring you to a full list of sources, including a bibliography with everything that we have shared here today, whether it be a picture, document, article, whatever it may be. Now, the show I was just mentioning is unmarked helicopters over Cleveland raise alarms. Again, right there we have the links, and we'll make sure to attach that comment by the Canada's, essentially their DOD. So we'll go over that here in just a minute. But let's first bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So I see this is the slow roll. They're doing one little thing at a time to bring in U.S. troops. I think that this is just the little tiny baby step. How they have done things for the last, I'm sure they've done this forever. But what I have noticed with specifically the UKR conflict is they kind of throw it out to the public. They say, I don't think we'll do this. Oh, no comment. Well, we're not saying anything yet. And then they do it. We saw Ukraine ask for, what was it first? Like RPGs. Then they asked for, I want to say it was tanks. They asked for defense systems. They asked for jets. They asked for money, of course. All of these things, every single time they ended up getting them, right? They said, we need more of this. We need more of that. Now what they need is troops. We know this because they are actually grabbing 152,000 people that left Ukraine, men that left Ukraine and dodged the draft. And of course, they've also come out with newer numbers that essentially do not make it does not make Ukraine look good. As far as the average age of the soldier was, I believe, over 40. That number just kept going up. If your average soldier is over 40, then you've probably had all of your 18 to 25-year-olds, the regular age for military, the preferred age for military, all of them are gone. And by gone, like never, not here on the earth anymore. So something is definitely happening with this. I expect that within 6 months, or less, much less, that they're going to officially say troops. And it probably won't be the U.S. first. We're going to put contractors. I bet you France or some other European nation is going to be the first one to send in troops. Dex, what do you think as far as them sending in contractors?
Well, I almost believe they're already there. I just wonder if this is sort of the admission to it, or at least the potential green lighting of the admission to it. And we're going to find out later that they've been there. But we've seen a lot of other, I guess, unofficial military from other countries joining and doing things. We've seen Americans there doing things before. I just wonder, obviously everything is in an unofficial capacity. This would be official if it was allowed for paramilitary or contractors to go. But I almost wonder if we're not already seeing that happening, because look at what we just reported about the programming of the last launch that went into Crimea. They're claiming it was programmed by someone that has knowledge of it, and I don't know that someone is some UKR soldier who was reading the manual.
Putin essentially said, you are responsible. The U.S. is responsible for this last attack, that they used your guidance systems, that the input was all the U.S., that essentially we're responsible. He didn't even blame it at NATO in general. He blamed it on the U.S. directly. So what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the chat below. By the way, thank you everybody that has made it here today. Let's see here, some house cleaning. I did want to show you that this is the comment from Canadian Special Operations Force, the Canada's Department of National Defense. This is regarding the last video, because there was people saying we're fear-mongering and that it was just a Spider-Man movie, and a lot of people were very confident about this. I don't know if they're seeing it on a on a community note on X or something, but I guarantee if it goes any longer, it'll probably be corrected, because it says the Canadian Special Operations Force Command, CANSOFCOM, very unique name, can confirm that 5 CH-146 Griffin helicopters from the 427 Special Operations Aviation Squadron were present in Cleveland, Ohio on Sunday, June 23rd, 2024. Again, they were they were on their way in support of an exercise in the United States and stayed overnight in Cleveland to clear customs before traveling to their destination. That was Sue Baylor with Canada's Department of National Defense. To also point out, we are like, when we cover something like this, we check all of our work. Like, I wasn't going to say that unless we had something to back it up. That's why we always have the bibliography there for you to use. But at that point, as it came out, people didn't know what this was. And a lot of people were still unsure. Even right before that comment came out, people were still like, okay, this doesn't make sense. You've got the Royal Canadian Air Force flying over Cleveland and doing these drops. And they later actually state in that same article that essentially it was diverse, that it actually gives them a good opportunity because they don't have the same kind of layouts that the United States do. Read it yourself. Go over to the website. Read what you see as their explanation for it. Tell me if you think anything is weird about that. But first of all, there's been drills in Cleveland. If you look up Cleveland, I don't know if somebody was finding a thing from 2020 or 2023 or something like that. Probably an older show there. But make sure to go check that out over on the website. Dex, can you cover the Kenya protesters? And this is crazy. Lots of videos coming out about of course, Kenya right now.
Yeah, they're mad, and they are so mad they basically burned the parliament down. So in Nairobi, which is Kenya's capital, it basically descended into violence and mayhem after these new tax policies were rolled out. Basically, some specific taxes that were going to, including an eco levy, which would raise the price of basic goods such as diapers and things like that. They're doing it as part to curb waste management, as they want to say, and being environmentally friendly. But obviously, this is going hitting a lot of people hard there. I can imagine that economic times aren't necessarily the best in Kenya at the moment. So when all of a sudden people that are just trying to get by are also taxed heavily, that's going to be an issue. The new taxes were tucked away in the Kenya Finance Bill 2024. It directly impacted import prices and sales of diapers, battery dry cells, smartphones, earphones, clock radios, TV sets, cameras, staplers, printers, calculators, photocopying machines, keyboards, mice, projectors, and LCD monitors. So they are in a dire uproar in the city right now over this, and literally set the parliament on fire.
Yeah, literally set the city on fire. They're also literally painting the town red. They've been spray painting government buildings with "You must perish," but in other less nice words. So I put out a quote when I saw this over on Twitter, which was from Mrs. Clinton, surprisingly enough, and essentially her talking about how Africa is going to be the world's breadbasket. Why is that? Well, I'm sure that other parties and other bigger countries are going to go in and they're going to change a whole lot about Africa. And over the next 20, 30 years, if we even last that long, they're all going to start fighting over and start doing a whole lot in Africa. I also wonder, too, like, is there any side things there? Like, why is Africa going to be the breadbasket of the world? South Africa, of course, the South African, one of the MPs, I don't know if he's a candidate or what, but he said some very scary comments just recently, saying that for every person of them that perish, they're going to take 5 people of, say, my color and take their lives. Like, all sorts of crazy comments coming out of some of the leaders in Africa. As far as Africa, multiple places in Africa are now either siding with Russia or siding with the U.S. or siding with somebody else. There's a lot brewing there. Now, South Africa, of course, is also part of the whole BRICS thing. There's a lot going on. Now, as far as Kenya goes, go look at the videos of what's going down in there as well. It's just it's getting absolutely nuts. People are going to be taken out in the streets. It's pretty bad. And then we have China delivers another economic blow to Russia. So these kind of things confuse me. But again, you'll see. When Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, it lost access to many world markets, including much of Europe. Countries like Germany, which for years had relied on Russian gas and oil, now turned sharply away and sought to rid themselves of vestiges of Russian dependence. Into the breach stepped China, always thirsty for new supplies of gas and oil. China quickly notified Russia that it was interested in receiving Russian gas and in developing a pipeline from Siberia for that gas. Recently, however, that lifeline looks more like a noose, at least for Russia. Beijing is taking a very aggressive stance on what is known as the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline, which sounds like a bad B movie or something, which was planned to transport a maximum annual capacity of 50 million million M3, I don't know what that means, of natural gas from Russia to China. China is now demanding that it pay only Russia's heavily subsidized domestic price for the natural gas, and China will not commit to buying a substantial quantity of gas such gas every year. Meanwhile, Russia's state-owned oil company, Gazprom, is hemorrhaging cash. Last year, it reported a loss of $6.9 billion, its first annual loss in 20 years. Perhaps a sign of the difficulties regarding the negotiations, Gazprom CEO, who had been a fixture, did not accompany Russian President Vladimir Putin on a trip to Beijing in May. Well, I don't think that that's strange either, because I highly doubt that he's important enough to go into Xi's office there, even though he is who he is, right? Now, Dex, you know what I kind of think about this too, is like it seems like China's in charge, if this is true, but there's also, they say that they're taking an aggressive stance against Russia, but I think it's all kind of a circus or a play that's going on for everybody else.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. And the only thing I would say is, even if it is a circus, the show here, with something like this being stated and with this type of action being taken by China, is to maybe, at least as far as the stage show, or even if it's not staged, as far as it goes, to put and reaffirm China's position. And I think as we saw Russia doing all of this, power brokering across Asia, specifically going to North Korea and then to Vietnam, and China has been in control, or has sort of had a lot of issues with and direction, I guess, with North Korea, but they've also had some times where they've been trying to be more put a more push and power against them on certain things. So I just wonder if there's some play here that China's trying to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, we're the king here. If you're going to do this, we're going to put you in your place, so to speak. But again, maybe it's all for show. But I think
this article says simultaneous Russia's economic isolation is only deepening, and Vladimir Putin may be running out of time to reverse it. So this article, and I believe this is at the top. Yeah, this is Forbes. So it always seems like they're trying to make Russia sound like they're always on the point of failure. But when we saw the beginning of the UKR conflict of them invading, or the special operation as they called it, right? At the whole start of that, everybody was saying that Russia's losing and that they're just so... Their military is in such a bad state. They're just rusty. Like, you imagine their entire military being like a rusty nail that's bent out of a fence. Like, that's how they described it. That's how they put it. When in reality, Ukraine didn't have much of anything. You're talking about an actual military, a military superpower. The only reason they're a superpower is because they're nukes and because of their focus on military. I mean, they have their power through force. I mean, it's not because they're an economic superpower. So the fact that they are going through all of these other countries and basically skirting all of this, I don't think that the media wants you to know that they're doing well. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think of that, though? I would love to hear your views on it. Dex, go ahead.
Well, look, all I was going to add to that was that even though there may be some underlying issues, some underlying tones here to try to make Russia look bad, I still think, even if we take all that away, we know that China's the one in control. And it's because of the financial situation. They have the ability to move funds around. They have the funds to move. They have the power to wield. And they're the only outlet, aside from a little bit with India, that Russia really has. And without them, they're kind of in a really bad predicament.
Well, I guess we'll see. Let's catch up. Stephen McMahon, off to work. Love you all. Stay salty. Stephen McMahon, I don't know if you're still listening to us or you're on your way. Hopefully you watch the replay. Again, thank you for your support. K. Parker Fraser, much love. Fooglers, what's going on? K. Parker Fraser, thank you. Wolverine Snicket, I'll resign if LM tries to send me to UKR. Yeah, I hope that none of us ever get sent to UKR. LM, who's LM? I'm trying to think. Dex, can you make sense of that abbreviation? LM. I my brain isn't working. It is so free. The last 2 days have been like 80 plus degrees, and in Seattle that's like 100. But we just don't have air conditioning like the rest of the country does. Tammy Lee, thank you, Adam, Dex, and Mods. We love your hard work and the family you've created. Sending love and prayers for everyone. Tammy Lee, it's so nice to see Foogle fam that have been here for a very long time stop by, especially every time you guys do. You make sure to bring positivity and awesomeness. So thank you. Kat, thank you again. And K. Parker Frazier, thank you for the rose emoji super chat. Dex, go ahead.
And someone in chat said Lockheed Martin, and maybe that's the contracting part.
Oh, Wolverine Snicket. So aren't you Wolverine Snicket? I feel like you don't you work for somebody there? I feel like I've seen a prior comment, or you left a super thanks on one of my previous shows. I don't know. I'll have to. I can't read chat like I would like to. I always miss stuff like that. So, but yeah. Oh, I get. If you're a military contractor, that's a.
Says missile defense. Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go either. Definitely wouldn't want to be around the front lines. That's for sure. They won't even put tanks on the front lines. Would you want to stand on the front lines? Heck no. One thing I keep seeing is they keep posting all of the Ukraine drone videos, and some of them are the Russian side, and then some of them are the Ukrainian side. But you see these guys, the going trend, and I've seen a bunch of these, is where it shows a soldier that's supposedly surrendering. I've seen a ton of these. Why they're showing so many? How does all of these leak? That means either the Russian or the Ukrainian side is getting that video from the drone, uploading it to social medias, and then putting it out. I mean, that makes them look horrible, both sides. The person's basically surrendering, and then the drone, every one of them is almost the same. It shows them walking and basically trying to give up, and then the drone flies in last second, and the person tries to run away from it, and it goes boom and takes the guy out. I've never seen one where you see them actually tear apart. It basically looks like they lay down, and it made me wonder, like, are these fake videos or something? Like, how? I guess, man, isn't there some sort of basic defense against these freaking things? Like, you would think they would come up with a thing of cardboard. These are little drones, and I understand they're explosives, but couldn't you come up with like a little net thing or something that at least could stop it? I mean, they're this big. You would think that you would have like a 10-foot pole or something and try to knock it out. They are fast, but some of these, you can see it's not that fast. And you can hear them, you can see them. They're in an open field. This thing's coming at you. I don't know. A lot of the battlefields I've seen where this happens, it's open, completely open. One I just saw yesterday was there was huge, like a divot in the ground. And it wasn't like a trench, but it almost looked like a track. And he tried to jump into that, but didn't make it. And I'm thinking, you can't. I don't know. I guess I would have to have one of my friends take one of those FPV drones, because that's equivalent to what they are. They're not like the regular drones. They're faster, and try to dodge that. You would think you would be able to, but I don't know. With a skilled pilot, maybe not. But you'd think there would be something like a shield on a stick or something, and just hold it out, and then if it goes boom, it takes out your shield. Like a spear with a shield on it, and you just hold it out. Yeah, as FPV flyers out there, do you think that you could get around something like that? What do you think a defense should be? Maybe something, if you could create something that a soldier could hold on them, heck, it would change warfare, because that's warfare now. It's not tanks blowing up tanks. Tanks are like useless. This is the scary part, Dex, is tanks are essentially becoming useless. I don't know how long carriers and different naval ships are going to be useful, because they say that drones can do all of this, and that if they have systems that can basically screw up all the radars, then what's good about a floating island if they can shut the radar off and stop it from defending itself? Like, how useful would all of these things that have been in our warfare arsenal be if they're all useless? I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. I mean, look, they've been giving all of this is practice. All of this is an opportunity for Russia to improve their electronic warfare, improve their defense capabilities against Western weapons. They haven't had that opportunity in quite some time, and now they're fresh in the game.
And speaking of electronic warfare, one of the most probable attacks that would happen to us would most likely be an EMP. The reason why is it's not going to actually take lives directly. One of our affiliates is EMP Shield. If you watch the show every night, you already know. But if you are new here, make sure to go check out EMP Shield if you've been waiting on something like this. It's very easy to put in your car, and it can protect you against an EMP. It can allow your car to continue to drive. Your generators, your mobile homes, your vans, your motorcycles, your Harleys, whatever you want to keep running, including generators and even your home, you can get a device for wired in less than 10 minutes, and you're going to have it run after several EMP attacks or after a Carrington-level event from the sun. So whether we have an attack from an adversary or a natural event that will happen at some point, you'll be protected. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. Not only do you get $50 off, but you help our channel at the same time. We are completely on our own, and we're up against behemoths. So we appreciate all of your support. More so than anything, share us out with somebody you know, especially somebody who hasn't seen the show yet. And then Russians claim that they shot down U.S. spy drone over the Black Sea. Dex, do you want to go over what happened?
Okay, so this was what we kind of mentioned a little bit yesterday because it was a lot of speculation because it was on the back channels and it wasn't really out in any of the media yet. Well, today it did come out in the media, but it hasn't actually happened. So there's two sides to the story coming, and this is just coming out of the article, and it's exactly what we said yesterday. They came out, at least one Telegram channel, a fight bomber came out and said, hey, they took out a U.S. drone, didn't name which drone it was, and it was over the Black Sea. They being Russia. Of course, this is all in that time frame where people are and still are today looking for what is going to be the retaliation from Russia to the U.S. for what they claimed is a U.S. action against Sevastopol in Crimea there. So what also came out though was another one of these people that track all of this information. I can't remember who it was. It was global I'm sorry, it's if I can find it here in the article, but there was another person who tracked it and also said no. Open source intelligent analyst Oliver Alexander, that's who it was, pointed out that the flight information on that drone went offline. They turned their transponder off but then turned it back on, and you could see that it landed safely in Italy or wherever it had taken off from or wherever it was landing. So they said, hey, what's coming out from the Russian side is actually not true. So there's both sides of the story. There's what you have. As I mentioned yesterday, that was sort of the scuttlebutt that was going around. Here is a lot more detail if you want to know about it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't appear, at least from the U.S. DoD, to be confirmed. And then something like this would be. We've seen other times drones have been taken out, from the Houthis to even Russia dumping fuel on one and causing it to crash. That information pretty much comes right out. And I think if something like this were to happen, for as much as people are looking to the West, thinking they're trying to stoke the fire, they would love to be able to show a flame or a fire, and this would be one. So I think they would be talking about it. Now, you could say maybe they're covering it up. I don't know. But that's the story.
And they've clipped, or maybe that was China. Somebody else clipped one. We've had a bunch of these stories, and it's like, what's funny is when these happen, it lasts in the news for maybe a day. Because they're not manned, most people frankly don't care. But it's a lot of money that's flying around in the air, and when that gets shot down, it should hurt all of us because, man, who do you think pays for all of that? And then we have Moscow says to block access to 81 EU media outlets, including AFP website. So Apple is talking to major rival Meta about integrating the Facebook parent company's generative AI into its product as it tries to catch up with rivals on artificial intelligence. Hold on here. Dex, I'm sorry. I think that this...
Yeah, we may have
it
to
loaded
click
the
through,
wrong
'cause that
one. Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah.
Let me view the
messed
original.
up.
I got it. That's another one, but somewhat for some reason it loaded the wrong one. So check this out. Russia said Tuesday it would block access to 81 EU media outlets, including AFP websites, as a retaliatory measure after Brussels imposed broadcasting bans on several Russian state media outlets. The European Union in May said that it had decided to block access to 4 Kremlin-controlled media for being instrumental in bringing forward and supporting Moscow's Ukraine defensive. Moscow said it was responding to that move. Counter restrictions are being introduced on the access from Russian territory of broadcast resources of media outlets from EU member states. Moscow's foreign ministry said in a statement. It says the list includes AFP homepage, AFP.com, and its client portal, AFP Forum. France's Le Monde, Germany's Der Spiegel, Spain's El Mundo were also among these media outlets named on the list. So one thing I'm thinking about is that Russia, and Dex, are they able to do this because of their intranet? Is that why they're able to? Yes,
absolutely. When they created that intranet, they basically used a different term to say, hey, we created the Great Firewall that China created, but they called it something different. But that's basically what they did. They created their own version of it.
So we talked about this when they did the intranet thing. You know when else they shut down things, and they did this temporarily for about 5 hours. They shut down the parent company to this platform and all sorts of others. There was at least 5 really big search engines that were shut down, and that was during Wagner's march towards the city. Russia actually shut down the search engines that they could find out the news. So when you saw those videos of the people cheering on Wagner, Western media used that as, oh, they're cheering him on and all the Russian people hate Putin. That's just not true. Now, I'm sure he doesn't have a 99% approval rating, much like, China, they say, oh, everybody loves him. I'm sure that's not the case. I've talked to Russians. I just talked to a Russian and a Ukrainian wife and husband, 3 months ago. They said, yeah, not everybody likes Putin. Some people hate Putin. It's just like here. It doesn't matter who's the leader. There's going to be half of the people that don't like them. But as far as when they did that, they turned it off, and you saw these people cheering in the street. Well, they were cheering at that moment. They didn't even know it was a coup or whatever the heck that was. Again, all of that's shady. He was marching through the streets. They weren't directly firing. They said that they knocked out a helicopter and all this stuff. But when you see the videos, they're just marching through the streets like normal. So if you're a regular citizen, you support the conflict and you see war heroes walking down the street. It's equivalent if we had Navy SEALs walking down the street or military contractors walking down the street that we know are fighting over in whatever country. Everybody's going to cheer them on. Everybody's going to go, yeah, we're proud of you. Thank you for your service. That's what the video was. But the Western media showed us that and said, oh, everybody's cheering on Wagner to take out Putin. I think that was total BS. Russia turned off all of the social media stuff and shut down all the search engines. I think something totally was skiffy there. Not to mention when he did perish in that plane crash or whatever, they said that they found 2 of the people without the top part of their body, without the identifying part. Totally shady. But either way, my point is, big things go down when they shut down this much internet. When they're shutting down all of these different websites, and who knows how broad this is besides this 81 websites, something may be going down. Maybe they do not want their population to see what they do next. Just yesterday, Dex, what did Russia say that they would do to us? Do you remember? What did Russia say just yesterday? And they made a comment, a very strong comment about something. What was that? Do you remember?
Well, they were going to retaliate is one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So right after they say that they're going to retaliate, they of course say, oh, well, they shut down a couple of our things. So now we're going to shut down all of the big news. Every big news website out there, they're shutting them down. So what the heck is, I don't know. Again, they have already started blocking access to much of the Western media since sending troops to Ukraine, as well as Western social media giants. Keep your head on a swivel, people, because I don't know. Something may be going down here. But again, it's really you never know, right? I do believe something is going big, massive, is going to go down. If you're in the United States, something big is going to go down. If you're in Europe, something big is about to go down. I don't know if it's going to affect you personally. If you're on a side street in Poland or something, I don't know if it's going to be knocking at your doorstep. But I would say right now, most people in Western nations should be preparing. They should be having a basic plan. They should have a plan with family. This is something that you should really, 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 really think about. Again, very crazy stuff going on right now. And then, Kay, thank you so much. Starin, thank you so much. Over on DLive, thank you so much. Chance, thank you for modding over there. Make sure to go check out Chance over on marfooglenews.com/friends. You can, of course, go get his books over on Amazon. And then Shugs, thank your mods by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. Great place, easy to do, just the website /friends. Very, very easy. You can find all of our wonderful mods, including our wonderful, amazing Ilea, Trinity, Redder, Blue Pill, Hi-Ho, Kermit the Frog here, and Wages World. Very, very cool. And then Jammer and, of course, Chance. They have been holding down the fort. So Rip Curl as well. You got to go check them out. And Dex, let's talk about the ICC, the International Criminal Court.
So the ICC has issued arrest warrants for Sergei Shoigu, the former Russian defense minister, and a leading Russian general, Valery Gerasimov, on Tuesday for alleged crimes committed during the invasion of UKR. So this is adding to, I guess, the warrant that was out for Putin. So it brought to 8 the number of arrest warrants issued against senior Russian suspects. That's 8 people now, including Putin, as I said. They all face charges over the UKR conflict, some of them specific to what's been happening with the children that have been, I guess, moved around due to the conflict, as some sides would say. So again, the ICC doesn't have jurisdiction in every country, only certain countries. So if you're a member, you're supposed to, if any one of these people enters your country, you're supposed to detain them and then hand them over to the ICC. This will probably mean that we won't see these people traveling to any of those countries that support the ICC. And then, of course, it will also mean if any of those are BRICS members, they're probably going to contest it, like we saw South Africa sort of get into a position where part of their government was saying, well, we're not going to support this notion to detain and arrest Putin, where even other members of their government were saying, well, we should do it, because obviously there's political differences. But yeah, that type of stuff is bound to happen now, again, with even more of these high-ranking Russian officials being added to the arrest warrants from the ICC.
Yeah, like in the case of when Putin was going to travel to South Africa, the South African president says, oh, well, screw the ICC. Even though they were part of it, they say, I'll take Putin out to dinner and then I'll give him a ride back personally to his airport or whatever. Then it was about a week of like the media going, well, is he going to go? And then they ended up not doing it. So I don't know if the ICC really, if people are, seriously worried about that. Didn't we cover just now, like in the last couple weeks, about Netanyahu, that they were trying to put something from the ICC on him too? Was that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was on it, as well as the other side, the leaders of the T group and the strip there.
That's right. Yeah. So both sides of the conflict of October 7, both were put on that list. Did it go through? I think it did. Either way. And then South Korea slams North Korea's fresh trash balloon launches and threatens loudspeaker broadcast. This is so dumb. It's like, this is such a weird dichotomy. Like, what is happening here? Imagine starting a war over some balloons with dirty diapers and loudspeakers playing K-pop. That's what's been going on. This is the most offensive stuff in their culture. I mean, it's offensive in all cultures. No offense, K-pop. I'm not saying that about K-pop. I personally not a fan, but again, it's not offensive, right? But I don't know, BTS, we could argue. But South Korea, of course, threatened Tuesday to restart anti-Pyongyang frontline propaganda broadcasts in the latest bout of Cold War-style campaigns. They're calling these bouts of K-pop blasting and diaper ballooning Cold War-style campaigns. I mean, it's just like the truth is stranger than fiction, is it not? I mean, it's been that way for forever, but especially the last 5-10 years, it's like the craziest things are now fact. And you're like, oh, now everybody though goes, what's your source? But even when you have a source, nobody believes them. So I guess what's the point? On Monday night, North Korea floated huge balloons carrying plastic bags of rubbish across the border in its fifth such campaign since late May, an apparent response to South Korean activists flying political leaflets via balloons. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol called North Korea's balloon activities a despicable and irrational provocation. One thing about South Korea and North Korea, and there's several other countries that do this too, but they always have the most intricate insults and like they always say, like Kim's sister always says, this is the irrational, reckless whip dog of a booty soldier, way to go. I'm like, what the heck are they talking about? But they do this back and forth. Can you imagine a full-on, full-scale war with another country over crazy stuff like this? I mean, it's crazy. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. And Dex, Chinese lunar probe returns to Earth with world's first samples of the far side of the moon. I thought this already happened, but apparently they say it's happening now.
Yeah, we've covered all the stages. So this is the final stage. It landed. It has come down, and they've gotten the material in hand. So now they are coming out and claiming they have a success. They were able to launch, which we covered. They were able to land, which we covered. And they were able to take off again, which we covered. And I guess it took some time to get back, and then they got back, and then they had to land again here, and then they had to retrieve the material. So China's Chang'e 6 probe returned on Earth with rock and soil samples, and it's specifically from the other side. They're expecting to see 2.5 million year old volcanic rock and other material that scientists hope will answer things about the geographic differences on the moon's two sides. The near side obviously is what we see. The far side is on the other side, and if you don't know, the moon is in a fixed position in the sense that as it rotates around, its face is always facing us, so we never see the other side. That's how they explain it. Anyway, but the probe had landed in the South Pole area in an impact crater, so they're hoping to get material from that piece that maybe caused that crater, and that might also provide more information and data about material and where it's from the other parts of the solar system or even galaxy for that matter.
Now, by the way, speaking of this whole Fly Me to the Moon is a trailer that just came out. Dex, have you seen the trailer for Fly Me to the Moon? I don't know if...
No, but I'm going to go look at
it. So everybody's talking about it because it almost looks like it's based on a true story. I don't think it says it, but it looks like it's based on a true story, video. It's got Channing Tatum in it, and the plot of it is set back in the times of when we went to the moon, or said we went to the moon, and it starts out like, we want you to shoot the video. We want you to this battle, this space race with Russia cannot go wrong. We want you to shoot the backup video of the moon landing. So even if we don't land, we need to have it look like we did. And it shows them with a stage, like, doing the moon landing and everything else. And they even they say in the trailer, it shows them having Buzz Aldrin like jump in these things. They say it's Buzz Aldrin, and they say, God, Buzz Aldrin is just an idiot or something. And Thor Odinson, that's so rude. Stop stuttering. Well, I'm describing something I'm trying to remember from seeing it once. So if you want to do a better job, then go ahead. That was super rude, Thor. Yeah, I would love to see you switch places. But either way, as far as what happened there, not to mention, it's like 85 degrees in here, so my brain's not working. So I do apologize if I'm not the best, guys. But with this, they have them saying that they're going to the moon. So everybody is saying that this is more proof that this is real. And at the end of the trailer, they even say, gosh, we should have went with Kubrick. And if you know about the whole side theory of Kubrick and all of that, then you guys already know. Like, watch the trailer. We'll attach it to the website tonight. You'll see what I mean, and you be the judge for yourself. It's kind of like in the same sense where Don't Look Up did that trailer, and they said, this is based on a true story, ... that hasn't happened yet. When you watch that, you get that same kind of feeling for it, like that it's trying to be based on a real story. Now, even say hypothetically the moon landing, there's no question about it, and it was 100% real. Would they have done a backup, or are they going to tell us that this is a true story about, yes, we really did land on the moon, but this was the story about how the backup of the moon landing was going to go, because no matter what, we had to land on the moon, at least visually land on the moon. I would love to see that. All right, and I don't know. I will see it because I watch all those movies to see what kind of symbolism they put in it. I will let you guys know when we see that, and we'll attach it to the website. Dex, I'm sure you probably grabbed it already.
It's there.
Yeah, okay.
Can't wait to watch the trailer after the show.
It's definitely like everybody's questioning. Go look at the comments on Twitter or on X or whatever. As far as, let's see here, Elon Musk welcomes third child with Neuralink executive. If you guys did not know, he's with. In fact, before this, I wanted to go into a side thing. Did you guys hear about Dr. Disrespect? So many of you, Dr. Disrespect, I think is 41 or 42 years old. Do you guys know that name? He's like a 6'8" video game player. Have you guys seen this yet? Let me pull this up. This came out just today, and you guys might have heard over the last couple of years, he's been in a lot of, he basically had all this drama going on around him. Let's see here. Dr. Disrespect. But the big news in gaming and social media and all of this is essentially he outright admitted on X that he was whispering or messaging with a minor. So this is also everywhere on X you go, you're going to see them talking about this. But there's comments by, of course, Tim the Tapman and Nick Merckx. And essentially, they're not sticking up for him. They're basically saying, yeah, this is weird. We hung out with this guy. He was our friend. And now he's this disgusting dude. The reason I bring this up is if you go look at his messaging, he edited it 3 times. Dr. Disrespect, he puts out, he kept editing in and out the word minor. This was absolutely just, people were watching it live. And if you actually go over there and look at it, now there's an argument if it wasn't what it looks like. My question is, it's a yes or no question. Were you messaging a kid? If you are, then there's no PR team that can save you. Like, that's an unspeakable thing. But again, this is all coming out about him. So if you are into video games and stuff, into Call of Duty and all in streaming and into Twitch, then you probably know who he is. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. It's actually quite wild. If you look at the comments, if you are into those kind of things where everybody is posting different things and it's a big argument and a big debate now because others are saying that they purposely did this, that they didn't like him at his studio, all of this. I don't know much about it. I don't know enough to make a judgment on if they didn't like him and all of that. But from his own statement, from his own X account, I didn't understand. Watching it live, he kept editing the word minor out of it. He put it back, then he took it out. Like, that shows thought that you're like, yeah, this doesn't sound good. So he wrote it, then edited it, then wrote it, then edited it, and I think he did it 3 times. So, yeah, it's not looking too good for that. What's crazy, though, is we see all of these big streamers and big creators that have been taken down over the years, and really, if you gain too much power, it seems like almost anybody does get attacked. But in this case, he's admitting it. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see how it pans out. For 2 years, this happened like 2 or 3 years ago, and everybody's kept it quiet because he was in a civil case with, I believe, the parents or something. And a Twitch employee, I guess, ended up leaking it out. So I don't know. I'll have to go look at what Quartering and other people are saying about it. But have you heard about it, and what did you think about it? Do you think he should be able, to continue on like normal? I mean, obviously, I don't think that anybody should have their stuff taken away, but is anybody going to follow him? Is anybody going to continue to watch something like that, knowing they did something like that? Now, again, it could come out that it was all wrong, but I don't know. His own comments make that look totally off. And then Elon Musk welcomes third child with Neuralink executive. Had a third child with an executive at Neuralink, his brain implant company. Musk and Neuralink Corp. Director of Special Projects, Siobhan Zillis, welcomed the baby earlier this year. So how many kids does this guy have now, Dex? Is this 9 or is this 8?
So he and Zillis actually were parents to twins that were born in 2021, shortly before the birth of his second child with Grimes. So does that mean he had 4 and this makes 5? I'm assuming. And the fact that he's had some with this woman before, then some with Grimes, and now back to this woman again. I don't know. I'm really confused, but let's just put it this way. He is a huge proponent of expanding the population, and that people should be procreating. And I guess he's putting his money where his mouth is, because he is doing nothing but creating babies, it seems like. And this one, as many were also speculating it was secret, he came out and said, look, it's not a secret. We just don't put out press releases for a kid. But all of our friends and family knew about it, so it wasn't like we were hiding it. But we weren't certainly going to write a press release about it. So that's why I guess everybody in the media sort of thought it was some sort of secret deal. But he's claiming it's not. But that's the story.
Well, here's a small debate here. It's like, so if you are famous, do you think that people should just, the second you get pregnant, are you supposed to tell the whole world? Or if you have a kid, is that, other than what you are famous for, should you be letting people in on everything? Like, should you be letting people know about, deaths in the family? Like, oh, I just like, what do people expect? Like, I don't get that. But he's having all these kids. It seems like the things that he says, like he talks about births falling off and everything, he is actually having, like, what, 8 kids or 7 kids or 9 kids? I thought he already had 6 kids.
It's 12. I just saw an article that says he's now got 12. I don't even know where they all are, so I'm not going to go that far. It's too much to look at, but yeah.
I guess if you have that much money, then you can support 12 kids. But gosh, if he gets married, I'm sure he does prenups with like everybody. He probably has prenups for having a lunch meeting. That if they order too much food, they'll have to pay for it themselves. Like, yeah, that's nuts.
I don't think you can prenup a child support though, can you? I think that's only if you get married. So,
yeah, but
all these people who are having kids with them are probably thinking, "Hey, that's not a bad life," if he's going to pay for the kids.
And do they
got one big fat paycheck, right?
Do they base it on how much he makes, and like, or would they get a normal amount? Like, because I know what's his face, 50 Cent's kid, or one of the rappers' kids, was complaining, and he was complaining because I think he was getting $10,000 a month or something. And he was complaining on social media, and everybody got on his case. They're like $10,000. And he said that they were basically poverty stricken because they were only getting $10,000 a month from this rapper guy. And everybody was like, what the hell? Like, that he was so out of touch that he was saying that they're flat broke because they only get $10,000 a month. And everybody's like, are you kidding? Like, some people get $100 a month. Like, that's insane. $10,000 a month.
Yeah, and based off income, that's a huge income that's going to make $10,000 a month. And I can imagine that Elon's income is exorbitantly higher than that one. So who knows what the laws are of the states where these children are born, but that's what would be dictating it. And sure enough, it's usually based on income. And yeah, so if you're one of these women, I'm sure they're getting taken care of. At least their children are.
Oh yeah. Like all of the things are taken care of. But his argument was that $10,000 because his dad was a billionaire or like a 500 million heir or something like that wasn't enough. And he made it sound like, our life, and he said, our lifestyle, we need more money. It's like, our lifestyle, like, basically they wanted more. And he did it publicly on like Snapchat or something. I think it was 50 cents, kids, but I could very well be wrong. Yeah, Curtis Jackson. Is that 50 Cent? I think it was. All right. And so that's for the drama, the T section of the show. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out Energy. If you don't have a backup power supply, this is one of the best solar generators on the market, hands down. But I do believe it is the best modular and expandable generator on the market. Expandable meaning that this can actually expand up to 96 batteries, and it is modular, so you can add in a brick just like Legos, and you can add whatever features in you would like. Again, you can actually add in a supercharger, a rapid charger, a UPS system, or you can just take it with a single battery and go take it to work, use it to power your tools, take it camping, power a TV and a lamp and whatever else you want at your campsite. You could use it for tailgating, all sorts of cool things that aren't emergency related. But in the case of an emergency, gas stations very well may be the first to go, especially if we lose power. You're talking about gas and water are the two first things that are going down the hole. And even if the gas stations are running, if SHTF happens, do you really want to be in that line? We've all, of course, seen fictional movies of that, but some of you have actually seen the real thing. Like when the pipeline on the East Coast went down, people were miles down the road just trying to get gas. People were scalping a gallon of gas for $50 or $100. I mean, it got insane. And that was just a regional, smaller event compared to an SHTF. This is an awesome thing. It's built like a tank. It's literally Army strong. The Army has actually just given them the STTR Phase 2 contract, and they don't pick generators or items in general for their, being pretty or their selfie equipment. They pick it because it's reliable. It turns on when they want it to turn on, and it turns off when they want it to turn off. Again, go over to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. And just like how you hear a electric car driving by and it's just, this thing is silent. So that means nobody is going to hear it 3 blocks away, and you can actually run it inside. With a gas-powered generator, if you do have a nice one, some of them are a little bit quieter, but you don't exactly want the desperate neighbors knowing you have one, because they'll probably try to come take it. So, and you can get unlimited power from the sun. There's so many positives about a solar generator. I would highly recommend having both if you have the ability to, but if you're just going to get one, again, solar generator, get the Energy Flex Tactical. All right. And then we have Venezuela's leader could stay in power no matter what voters want. Dex, do you want to go over this and what's going on with this?
Well, it looks like Nicolas Maduro has a potential challenger in the works that may be in a position to take him out of the the running there. So a lot of people are speculating what he may do because there's been all sorts of even proof from some third parties saying that last time it was ran in a fishy way, so to speak, and he's done certain tactics to adjust, whether it be literally adjusting the numbers, so to speak, or just doing other tactics to scare people or prevent people from doing certain actions when it comes time to the selection process. So one of the areas, though, that I thought was interesting in this was they said, hey, one of the examples that might be done, it would be to create a conflict, and that conflict being what's going on with their neighbor there, and that they could potentially move forward with that invasion that they've been talking about. So that's one scenario I think that we ought to pay attention to when it comes to this, especially if he's sitting in a position with a selection process coming up that may actually prevent him from continuing to stay in power. And everybody suspects he is very keen on remaining in power in Venezuela. So if he uses that as an opportunity, then that would be one that I think is going to be important for us to pay attention to, because it'll require the U.S. to actually get into a position to defend the country below there. I'm trying to remember the name of the country. Guyana, yes, thank you. I get it confused with the other country that sounds like that. But anyway, Guyana in South America there.
So, and Maduro, it sounds like Maduro has something in common with Putin and Xi. It's like he's basically setting it up for himself to stay and rule, right? All of these countries have kind of had this in common. So we'll see what happens with that. I think that North Korea is going to be the trigger that pulls everything off, but I have also said Venezuela in a close second. I think that would be right behind North Korea. Like that could pop off. All of a sudden we have Navy going down there to help Guyana. Then it would be North Korea. Then I think it would be an escalation, possibly Russia and Ukraine, Iran and Israel, or one of the groups, Lebanon, and then China and Taiwan. They would split the military up, or in somewhere in that order, something like an EMP would happen here, or some big event, some chaos, coordinated chaos. But that's just my hypothetical scenario. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And let's see here. Carlton Sutton, thank you for the burger. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting independent. And Saren, thank you. I appreciate that. Stephen McMahon, thank you. Andrew Golden, thank you. Smoke and Swamp Outdoors. Bible Talk 777, hope you are doing well. Julie Pilkerton, I hope you are doing well as well. Nevitz, not sure. Merlin and the Fake King's Crown, thank you. Joe Scheit, Xander, and Stephanie Brunk, thank you for subscribing. Joe Dottie, thank you. Icky Bod, thank you for subscribing. And Ryan H., thank you for subscribing. Tamara Bukalev, everybody welcome Tamara. Dr. Spooshman, thank you. As well, Eric and East Willingness, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the fam. All right. And Paramount erases archives of MTV website, wipes music and culture history after 30 years plus. No surprise here. If you haven't noticed, they're erasing history at alarming rates. We actually just covered something the other day. Dex, do you remember I showed you that thing about my aunt sent me about them deleting websites, all sorts of websites. They did a study, and they said a certain percentage, huge percentage of the internet has disappeared, right? But you looked at it, found that basically, yeah, businesses open and close websites, that websites close down, or if they change the operating system, or what do you call it, the host, that sometimes it doesn't work with the new one. But you did find that a lot of things like WikiLeaks and all sorts of other things were disappearing.
Yeah, exactly. Part of their study was just like extreme. It was like all websites sampled, etc. Well, that stuff comes and goes. But what was interesting is when you look at the portion of their study that said, hey, let's look at these sources on Wikipedia. Because if you go to a Wikipedia article, there is supposed to be a source for every statement on there. There's a little number, and if you follow that number, it'll take you to the footnote. It's a footnote number like we learned back in school in the old days. It'll take you a footnote down at the bottom of the page, and there should be a link referencing where that piece of information came from. Usually it's the website or via a news article. Well, a huge percentage of those were empty links now. In other words, the article that used to be there, or the piece of news information that used to be there, is gone. Now, certainly if it's a website to a company website talking about a particular person, that you understand, because that stuff does change and it does come and go based on what the company's doing. But this is yet another example. And whether or not you're a fan of MTV, I mean, as far as Paramount, who's in all sorts of trouble financially and just having a hard time surviving, and Viacom, which owns MTV, which is basically turned, MTV is not what the MTV we grew up with. There's nothing about music anymore on MTV besides the music awards, and many would question if that's music in today's time. At least this audience would. But
it's just TV now.
It's just what. Reality TV or something like that, and what's his name playing
Ridiculous.
videos off of YouTube, ridiculousness nonstop of YouTube videos, right?
And catfish. That's it. Ridiculousness.
Catfish
for 12 hours. Catfish for the other 12 hours. That's it. And pregnant 16. Yeah.
So it's just it's nothing but the history. If you could rewind, I mean, there's a whole lot of music history from the old days. That was there. They were actually the music news, and they had all of this information archived. They had all of these articles written about musicians and bands and all this stuff. I mean, for those of us that grew up with Headbangers Ball, we know, there was a time when MTV and Ricky Rackman and all those guys, they covered a lot, not just on TV, but even on the website and in print. All that's gone. They just wiped it off. They just said, we're not going to support it anymore. And poof, it's not been archived. It's nowhere. And it's years or decades of content.
Oh, and Kurt Loder, like watching MTV News, I had that sound stuck in my head. Even Beavis and Butthead actually had the actual show when they had the music videos. It's like you watched Beavis and Butthead because they would end up every few minutes, they would watch a music video, and it was this cool thing. From Liquid Television. Do you remember that, Dex? Liquid Television? It was...
Oh, yeah.
They had all Eon Flux and all of these crazy things, and then the interviews they had. They talk about in this article how it used to be a powerhouse for politics too. They would, wasn't it Rock the Vote? Rock the Vote was the thing that they did, right? That's not Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon did something else.
Yeah, MTV did that.
Yeah, the Rock the Vote. They interviewed all these different politicians. All of those videos, thousands of hours, just gone. I'm blown away by this, but again, I think that they're trying to wipe away chunks of our history. As you guys know, you probably watched MTV, you probably watched Madonna videos and music videos, and probably even at one point, were Rick Rowland at one point. But now it's nothing. I cannot believe the state of MTV. I think it was Patrick CC that did a good video. It might have been somebody else. There's two channels that I do watch that do these kind of biopics on people falling off or this or that. But they talked about how MTV is basically ridiculousness, and how what's his face, the guy who runs Ridiculousness, the host, he essentially took over and had power over MTV for years. No joke. Like, not just that he was in a huge chunk of it, it was because nothing could get anything close to ratings. So he had all of the power. He was like, well, I want to do this, this, and that. And they said, okay. And they let him make decisions for MTV. I don't understand, though, how not one of the times over the last few years that they tried bringing back music. Like, music is so powerful, especially since they push all this crap. You would think if they're trying to push an agenda, you would think that they would bring back something like MTV, because music can literally, if it's used in the wrong way, it could brainwash people. So I'm surprised in that right they didn't use it for their agenda and put out music videos. Look at the nasty music videos that we see on YouTube now. Heck, I was just talking about it the other day, the one with The guy from NSYNC that just got arrested for DUI. Sorry, you guys. Again, my brain is fried in this heat. Justin Timberlake. Yeah, his music video is this crazy demonic video of him going on a dance floor and dancing with a demon and it spitting on his face. You know, it's disturbing, and it's like, and it shows his evil self burying or throwing his good self in the trunk. And this was put out right before his DUI, and it's like, gosh, yeah, Hollywood and music industry, it just destroys people. It literally takes people's souls. Everybody's talked about this for years. Everybody says it cliche-wise, but I think it's real. I mean, there is real evil in this world. And I think once people really just attach to that, what's funny is I see a lot of people that do not believe in anything, and you can believe in whatever you would want, or not believe in anything you want. But I see a lot of people that don't believe in anything, but they still believe in evil. I mean, when you see some of the stuff that's happening right now and some of the awful events, especially like the taking the life of a wee one, like that's just horrid. And you're seeing that all over the place. Gosh, that one woman who took out a little tiny little girl or something, or multiple kids, I think, or at least one kid. She sat there in court and smiled at the camera like an evil smirk. And I'm thinking, gosh, this is just so disturbing. This person took the life of a kid and is sitting there smirking at the camera like it's funny. Now, people could say, oh, well, they're mentally ill, this or that. Okay. That doesn't take away the fact that there's something evil in that person. There's always been schizophrenics. They've always been like that kind of stuff. And it makes you wonder, like, is part of that a demonic force entering somebody? Like, it's really creepy, some of the things they do. Very, very, very bad times we are in. And they're getting rid of all of what we grew up with. It's just, when you change history, if you control the flow of information, if you control history, you can control the future. Do you agree with that statement, or do you disagree? I'd love to hear your opinion down below. All right, let's move on. Very, very interesting subject here. Thank you, Carlton Sutton. Again, thank you. I appreciate that. So let's talk about this. So first off, there's just a lot of stuff around this whole event that just happened in Cleveland. As you guys know, if you do a roll call, if anybody says the OH, I drop the IO. So we've got a lot of people from Ohio here, and people were really concerned seeing helicopters in formation. Now, if you're near a base or something like this, then people, they see it and they're like, oh, that's cool. They get their phone camera and they're like, oh, this is really cool. They're excited for it. But when you're not used to seeing that, it's kind of a scary sight, especially now. Maybe 10 years ago, it might not be. Or maybe if we're at like the most peaceful time in history, then yeah, you wouldn't really care. It'd be like, cool, maybe there's an air show. But when you see military in formation right now, think about where it puts your mind. Now, of course, the second thought in your head is like, oh, well, maybe it's a drill. But the first thought's like, oh, that's creepy. Like, what's going on? Just like if you see police down the street in your neighborhood or down the street, you hear sirens, you go, what's happening? I mean, go look at neighbors or next door or any of that. It's like people just freak out. Even if there's a police on a corner, they'll post on neighbors, or what's going on? Does anybody know what's going on 4th Street? Does anybody know what's going on over here? Like, I see like 8 cops. People have this natural curiosity. As far as this goes, the curiosity only got worse when it said on the aircraft that they were Royal Air Force, Canadian Royal Air Force. So people kept commenting that I was fear-mongering in the show I was talking about, saying it was just a Spider-Man movie. I don't know where their verification of that is, but we have an actual statement from the Canadian Department of Defense, Sue from the Canadian Department of Defense, stating that the 5 Canadian helicopters were down there assisting with a United States drill. Now, these helicopters weren't just flying in formation. They were doing landings. They were flying low. They were doing all sorts of really crazy maneuvers. And they said that they essentially helped out with this drill in Cleveland, Ohio. And they also said that it helps them because it's a diverse area and that they get to do training that they normally don't in a lot of parts in Canada because they have really, I don't know if they're saying that because there's better urban areas. I don't know. Maybe it's because of where those specific helicopters are. Maybe they don't have things in that part. I know they have big cities in Canada, obviously, but maybe not within, close flying distance of where those were stationed. But it was very, very creepy for people to say, like, why is Canada here? Why is Canada's military doing low-flying drills in Cleveland? I mean, yeah. And at first, really, there was no confirmation. And apparently, people somehow said that this was Spider-Man. And who knows? Maybe both are true. Maybe it was a drill and somebody paid them to do the Spider-Man movie. I know that they do kill two birds with, one stone every once in a while. But is that not creepy or what? Dex, I mean, if you see helicopters or any kind of military information, if it's on in July or something, and you're right around an air show, then you go, oh, okay. If you see it normally, you go, okay, maybe it's a drill. But then if you see another country's helicopter flying above you, especially with all the crazy theories flying around Canada, I don't know. That would kind of freak me out too.
Yeah, I get it. And I'm just and to most people, these look like unmarked because they were dark. And if you even look at the image, the marking for the RCAF is very small. I mean, the only reason they ever found it was one person happened to take a very high-res image, and they were able to zoom in and see it. To the naked eye and to everyone else, they didn't look like marked at all. They didn't have any markings. So, and that was concerning. Now, look, the people that got hung up on Spider-Man, that was one of the potential theories because there was a Spider-Man film going on. But nonetheless, it's going to come out that that's not it. So those of you that wanted to think that's it, and we understand where you got it from. There was a filming happening. There was also a Canadian baseball game happening in town that weekend. And another theory was that maybe these helicopters were protecting some special dignitary that happened to be coming in, which would be odd, but you never know. All these theories were just flying around. But yeah, it's turned out it's special forces, and they're doing training with the U.S. and they were flying all over Cleveland. And yeah, spooky.
Yeah, and just to show you the comment there again, it's right there, and it is attached to our website. So it is the Canadian Special Forces operation can confirm that they were helping, that they were on their way in support of an exercise in the United States, stayed overnight in Cleveland to clear customs before traveling to their destination, said Sue Baylor with Canada's, I always say Canada's Department of National Defense. So the CDNA or CDND. So if you want to watch the video on that, or if you want to share that out with your friends and family, that would be much appreciated. You can do so, of course, on our website, marfooglenews.com. There was also these weird comments by Macron talking about civil war. Now, is this just, pre-pick the Pres Day kind of thing? Don't know. I give more of my opinion over on the other channel. It is quite odd. You can go see that here in just a second. I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go over and check out My Patriot Supply over at marfooglenews.com/prep. If you don't have backup food, this is freeze-dried food that will last 25 years. marfooglenews.com/prep. It also has all sorts of other prep items. So all you need is that link. It will automatically give you any discount that applies. So go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Thank you for doing so because it helps our channel and it reinforces the growth of our independent media. And it also, of course, helps you with a giant discount and food that can get you by until the year 2052. So go check it out. Thank you guys for doing so. Dex, thank you so much for everything. I appreciate you.
Hey, much love. Great job. Good show tonight.
And if you would like to see that short we just did, and if you would like to share it or hit the like button on it, anything helps right now. we are really hitting a hill right now. So that would be much appreciated, especially if you're an everyday watcher. It takes a couple seconds, and it would very much help us. I really do appreciate it, you guys. It helps us reach other people. I'm telling you, it's like they take things away the second you put them there. So if you can help, that would be much appreciated. Go over and share that out with somebody you know. We put a lot of work into this. We make sure that everything has a source. We make sure that everything is backed up. The whole community helps out with this show. So thank you guys. You are just as much a part of this as anybody else. So thank you for thinking of us again. And all you have to do to get to that show, just click right here. Again, thank you guys. It's time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Where I say thank you to the people that matter most. You.